My name is Andra Bohnet, and I'm the flute professor at the University of South Alabama. You just watched my performance of the high school technical etude for this year. This one is reasonably straightforward. The dynamics pretty much follow the lines, so that's not too terrible. The only tricky parts are those fermatas, well, the fermata and the allargando, and I'll explain more about that when I show the music on the screen and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. But that's a place where you have to make some musical choices. It's not really intuitive, and I had to think about it a lot before I decided how I wanted to play those sections. So you will have just heard it obviously in my recording, and I'll talk a little bit more about it when I get there. Metronome is really helpful for this. The technique is reasonably straightforward, except for that one place between bars 19 and 22, which is a real finger twister. Anyway, we'll talk more about that when I put the music on the screen. Other thing is, note at the very end you've got the largo, and so that goes quite a bit slower than the rest of the piece. All right, I'll see you at the end of this, and I'm going to put the music up on the screen now. Up here I have written the recommended tempo marking. It's pretty doable. It could be worse. Except there are a couple things to think about. This piece is in the key of A major, which is not the happiest key for the flute because it contains high E natural, which can be a wonky note, especially if you don't have a split E on your flute, which I do not. High F sharp, which is also a really wonky note, and there's no fix for that mechanically. And you've also got high G sharp somewhere, maybe, I can't remember. Anyway, so you've got some awkward notes and awkward fingerings. So on the fortunate thing, let's talk phrasing first, because I think we got to have our phrasing together before we can do anything else. It divides itself beautifully into phrases, and looking at the beginning, we have basically 2-bar phrases. So here's one, here's one, here's one. Great. I'm breathing here because here's another one. I'm breathing here because here's another one, here's another one. And here finally is where it gets tricky. So I'm going all the way to this tie, and notice I wrote a double breath mark there. I usually do that to warn myself that, like, oh my gosh, the next phrase is really long, which it is. Thank goodness it's piano, and I wrote some pianos in here just to remind myself that, oh, this is piano, and it's a really long phrase. So you start here, you've got your beautiful F double sharp and all these nasty notes in this lick, which isn't so bad once you figure it out. But anyway, got that, you go through, you have to play all the way through here, through here, through here, and then he has the nerve to put a fermata there, which you can't just plow into because it's not very graceful. So you have to take a little bit of musicality and maybe ease up a little bit here, ease out of it, get to this E, and then your tempo goes on for the rest of the piece. And then thankfully you have nice phrase. And then this is the other problem right here, because and this is problem technically, because this is hard, and I practiced this a lot before I could do it without screwing it up. It's hard. You're going to have to practice this really slowly. There is a pattern to it, in that you have the second note in each group is the same each time, and it's the same pattern. It's like a third, a fourth, a third, a fourth, a third, a fourth, all the way through. And there's really no accidentals or anything, but it's just awkward. It's a finger twister, and so it takes a lot of practice. Anyway, here we have this pattern where we go E, A sharp, E, B, E, A sharp, E, B. We do that. And then we do that again here, E, A sharp, E, B, E, A sharp, E, B. And so I decided to breathe here because A, we have the same pattern again, up an octave, and also we have this allargando. If you don't know what allargando means, it's like basically a big stretch. So this is kind of in a totally different tempo than what happened before, and I'm sure you heard that in my performance. So, and then we have our odd tempo again in the next measure, which is thankfully just like the beginning, and once we get to this point, it's pretty easy. But stretch this out, make a big deal out of it. And then I also took a little bit of a pause before I took these grace notes and into the tempo again, because allargando basically means I can stretch it as much as I want to. Also, you have to think about how to approach that musically. Maybe I did, maybe you didn't like what I did. It is what it is at this point. So you obviously can make your own solution. But I do think this is the best place to breathe, just because you can't make it all the way to here. There's no way, especially with the allargando. And I think breathing here sets off the fact that you're doing the same thing, but just differently. I think the other thing, frankly, I didn't worry too much about these little accents in here because it's just fast and it's hard, and I've like, they'll come out more or less. So if you don't hear them, my fault. I admit it. All right, when you get to here, thankfully, you get your breath. You got like the beginning, nice phrase, nice phrase. Again, I didn't mark this one. I should have. This is where I'm breathing the second time, just like I did at the beginning. And then I didn't mark them at all at the end. So again, shame on me. So I'm breathing here after the low F sharp. I'm breathing after the tie here. I'm breathing after the tie here. I'm breathing in the little rest here after the high A. And then largo. This is a totally different mood from the rest of the piece. And so slow, lyrical, take your time, like, yeah, finished. You can enjoy it. So that's that as far as all this goes. Trying to think of anything else. There are dynamics written in this piece. Frankly, I don't know how much I really bothered with them. Con ardora means with love, with passion. So, you can play this very passionately. It also says maestoso, which means kind of deliberate, although by the time you get here, I don't think you'll be feeling very maestoso at this tempo. So the biggest dynamic contrast I can think of, because it's all loud here, is, this is loud, this is quiet. And just to make the breathing, we stay quiet, we got a diminuendo. We stay reasonably quiet, we stay really quiet, or at least we don't get loud. And then, okay, it's loud from here to the end. So it's not huge dynamics. And I think it's more important that you just execute what you're supposed to do. So it's reasonably straightforward, I think, except for this fermata, this allargando, and the largo at the end. And this is just finger twisting technique. Good luck with that. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully these comments have been helpful to you, and I wish you all the best on your audition. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me an email and ask me any questions. I'll do my best to help you as much as I can. Good luck!